Hey guys, we have a very special edition of the Tacos and Turntables podcast. We want to pay tribute and honor my friend and Bay Area legendary DJ LP, aka Leslie Perez, and his sister Monica is here with us, and she was nice enough to give us her time. So, hi Monica, how you doing today?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. I'm actually excited to talk to you because LP was a friend of mine and he was such a legendary DJ in the Bay Area. He rocked so many parties. He did so many gigs. He was on air. The guy was just a total just mix master. What else can I say? The guy was just. But I'd love to talk to you more about, you know, how he got started DJing, how he saw DJing, what a passion he had for DJing, and all that good stuff. What can you tell me about when he got started? And I noticed you got the life size cutout right there, which is awesome. And I'm trying to do likewise here and pay tribute with this cool shirt that you sent me to
Oh,
pay
you got
tribute
it.
to
You're welcome.
to my to my dear friend LP. So can you show us the cutout real quick, please?
Yeah,
That's awesome. It looks life size too. That's awesome. Very cool.
it's 5 foot just like him.
So Monica, tell me about how he started. What do you remember when he started DJing and what that was like and how excited he was? I'm sure he was just.
My brother started off when he was about 13 years old. He would wake up in the morning and mix all day. My mom would get upset with him and tell him, you need to go to bed. You have school the next day. He'd be like, okay, mom. He would wake up so early before school start. Like he went to Central Junior High School, but he was going to Pittsburg High, and my mom would be like, she would work two jobs, and he'd be like, all right, mom, all right, I'm gonna go to school, but he would miss school and stay home and just be mixing and mixing and mixing. So my mom one day found out that he didn't go to school, so she took his needles. So luckily that she didn't know he had an extra set on the side from when he was working and started DJing. And my mom's like, "Where'd you get those?" He's like, "I bought them." You know, I would enjoy hearing him, but it would be annoying because I'd be like, "I have school the next day." But I loved seeing what he was doing. He would close the door. I'd walk in the room and watch him be mixing. Um, it's a little emotional, but I miss seeing those days. I miss everything about him.
Yeah, no, I think we all do, but especially you, of course, being a sister, and I totally sympathize with you. I can never feel how you feel, but I um
Yeah.
I've tried to understand, and I'm very sorry for your loss. Um, what do you remember? Because one thing about DJing is that was kind of the fun part, like it's always fun, but it's
Yeah.
actually very hard, especially to get started. And I'm
Mhm.
sure he went through some struggles because it's not easy to learn. It's not easy to get at the time to get records, to keep up, getting equipment, that whole thing. And I'm sure obviously he worked his butt off to get to where he was, and I'm sure there was some. It was kind of rough because it was rough for all of us, I think, as DJs when you're trying to get started, it's not easy.
He started, so my brother got his first job at the age of 15 at Little Caesars Pizza. Every check that he would get, he would stack it up. And my mom and him we would take a ride out to, I don't know if you ever remember, there was a place in Berkeley. They would sell a lot of DJ equipment back in the days. And we would go out there. My mom would start buying little by little mixers, turntables. He started using my mom's home speakers from her stereo to go DJ at house parties and you know um, little places. But and then when he reached about 20, I want to say probably about 22, 23, he started working at Orchard Supply in Concord. Um, my brother, he was struggling, but he was getting by. But my mom ended up getting a second job to help him out to buy whatever he needed, anything. He started off low. He would have, instead of putting, records in the carry-on, he put them in milk cartons. He would go to Lucky's and take the milk cartons behind the buildings and bring them home. And he would load all his records in them. And I'm like, ooh, I'm telling mom you're stealing. He'd be like, shh, be quiet. Because back then they didn't have the cases that you guys had now
Yeah.
and putting all the records in.
A lot of us teachers did that, by the way, so I wouldn't feel
Yeah,
sorry.
I was kind of like, wow, really? So he would send me over there and get the big ones, and he would load all his records in, and then we would take a ride to Rasputin. But majority of the time, he kept saving up his money to buy whatever he needed. It was a struggle, but he made it through.
Yeah, no, it's always tough, just finding a way basically as a DJ, like finding a way to get, whether you needed needles, control vinyl, certain records, you're record shopping and you need to find that one song because you're gonna do this gig. It's not easy. So I'm sure, obviously he worked his butt off. I mean, honestly, that's one thing
He did.
I could say he was like probably the hardest working DJ I've ever known. If there was a song he didn't know, he would search for it, you know. He would go to the end of the earth to try to find it. He would not stop. He was relentless about his DJing. He was very, very passionate about that. Always trying to get to the next level, right? Always aspiring to be better. And that's something that we could all kind of learn from, which is part of the reason that, I wanted to honor him in this podcast and pay tribute to him. He was a dope DJ and very, very, very hardworking. So Monica, tell me about. I'm sure when he was DJing, he had a lot of mentors and he had people he listened to that he looked up to. Probably on the radio, kind of like I did. Who was like his main influences that you know about?
Majority, I believe it was more of Cameron Paul and Michael Erickson. Um, my brother would go to City Nights and DJ over there, and he would always listen to Cameron Paul's mixes. He had all his records, all his music, and then I've heard a lot about Michael Erickson, but majority of it I heard his biggest idol was Cameron Paul. You know, it's just crazy how he started at the bottom and he worked his way up, and he enjoyed doing what he was doing, but he mostly looked up to Cameron Paul a lot.
Yeah, he was Cameron Paul, R.I.P. One of the dopest and
Dopest, yes, he was
yeah.
a very dopest DJ.
And to be honest, he inspired me to DJ also. I would listen to him and try to understand what he was doing. And I didn't know at the time when I started. I was like, "What's he doing? How do those records blend together like that?" But it sounded dope. And I was like, "I got to
Right.
figure this out." It's like a puzzle that you have to figure out. You can't let it go. When you get into DJing, you're like, "How did he mix those two records?" So then you have to go back and kind of retrace the steps and go, "Okay, he had these two records going. Then he mixed this in." Like you just want to learn so you can basically emulate it, but at the same time you throw your own style into it and you become your own DJ. And I'm sure that's exactly what Leslie did. um,
The thing about LP, he would do that like in his room. He'll have the two, and he'd be like, and I'd be like, I want to try that one day. And I'll go in there and be like, he'd be like, get out of my room. And I'm like, dude, how do you do that? Because he used to have this old school mixer where you slide back and forward. Because he used to want to be like DJ Qbert. And he would get his turntables and start mixing back and forward. And I'm like, dude, that looks like it's very stressful. Your fingers must hurt doing that.
no, he was one of a kind, and I
Yes,
totally miss LP.
I
um,
do too.
what can you tell me about, a lot of people don't know, I kind of alluded to it earlier, but DJing, is there something that you could tell us about, um, how he felt, kind of like, I guess maybe in the home environment, or you as a sister, because DJing is not always, it's not always easy. There's a lot of ups and downs, and I'm sure maybe he mentioned to you he aspired to always be better, and he got really, 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 really far in the DJ game. But is there anything you could tell us about that? Like,
Um, LP would say mixing was always his thing for him. He loved doing what he wanted to do. He always would tell me, when I was younger, I'm gonna become somebody. I'm gonna be on the radio one day. Um, he kept practicing every day. he would send his mixes out to different radio stations like Wild 107.7, KSOL, KMEL, Wild 94.9. And then he ended up, back in the 90s, LP reached out to Jazzy Jim. He had gave a mixtape to him, and Jazzy ended up calling him in and had him do a mix on the radio. And since then, you know, my brother just came up there. One thing about LP is he stand out and got recognized. He was defeated every challenge he had. He was named through the Bay Area, you know. He was very happy on who he became. The music lives through him. And sometimes, you know, from what I'm hearing is he would call a lot of DJs, hey, bro, do you know this song? In the middle of the night, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, or 2 o'clock in the morning. It's like, bro, why are you calling people so late? Oh, I need to get this. I need to get this mix. I need to get this song. I got to play it. Jazzy wants me to play it. I'm like, wow. But, you know, one thing about him, he loved doing what he wanted to do. And I'm very proud of my brother on who he became. He worked his ass off to become a dope ass DJ. I've listened to all his mixes, and I'm very proud of him. You know, I miss him. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about him. My thing is he went home way too soon and way too early.
Yes, 100% agree. And part of my way of honoring him is through this podcast and to try to bring light to what a dope DJ he was, you know, what a good person he was, and what a good friend he was, and to you know, to pay homage to him, which is why, you know, I wanted to. It's gonna sound sad, but the truth is, I would have loved to interview him, right? But you're his sister, and you loved him so much, and I thank you for always keeping him, you know, in your thoughts, and always, you know, keeping his memory alive. He was a dope DJ and one of my good friends, and I totally miss him. But
One thing about LP is, you know, everybody called him LP or DJ Leslie. I've always called him Big Bro. I've always called him Bro. The day before he passed, you know, we talked. We shared our bond together. You know, me and Les had our ups and downs, but, you know, I've always given the support he needed. I would always continue to carry on his legacy, his music, everything about him. And that's the reason why I created a fan page, because I want everybody to continue to remember who DJ LP was, with the pictures, his music. You know, he was a person that always had a smile on his face, loved everybody, loved music. He lived for what he did, and I'm very proud of my brother. You know, he loved his family, he loved his kids. You know, he was just a person that went out there and did what everybody else did, but he wasn't a person to bribe about himself, like, oh, I'm going to become this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. No, he worked his ass off at that young age. He worked hard to become who he wanted to be. Even when he ended up in the hospital, he was like, I got to get out of here. And I'm like, bro, you got to get better. And he's like, no, I got to get out. He would take his laptop with him. He had took his laptop with him when he was in the hospital, and sending messages to Jazzy and letting them know, like, bro, this is what we need, or this is what's got to be done. And he kept he wanted to get out and keep doing what he wanted to do. Even when he got out of the hospital, he would go DJ at Rebels in Livermore. And that following week, he went to go DJ at Myth at the all-white party. I mean, he was happy. He just wanted to mix. That's all he wanted to do, was just DJ.
and that's, you know, like I said, I knew him as a friend, but also as a DJ. He was inspirational, you know, and he still is. And thank you for keeping his legacy alive. That is awesome of you, and I commend you for that. On a lighter topic, let me ask you, because you know the podcast is called Tacos and Turntables. I got to ask you about, if anybody wants to know, LP's or Leslie's favorite taco spot. Maybe there was one, maybe there was two. If you can let me know about that. I'm gonna link
He
that
loved
below, by the way.
tacos.
Sorry.
He loved tacos, but his favorite food that he loved to eat would be super red burritos. He would enjoy going to the Mega or Little Manuel's in Antioch. Um, a couple days before he passed, he reached out to me and he's like, Eskimo, what are you doing? Because he always called me Eskimo because I was born in Alaska. So he would be like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, nothing. You want to go get me a burrito? I'm like, bro, you just lost 15 pounds. You're going to gain more. He's like, shut up and go get me one. I'm like, okay, what do you want? A veggie? He said, "Foo, hell no. I want a super wet burrito with everything in it."
What kind
And
of
I'm
meat?
like,
What kind
oh
of
my
meat?
God. Chicken,
Oh,
chicken,
okay, chicken.
chicken.
Okay, I was gonna say.
He,
All right.
yes, it was chicken. He loved it. And I was like, oh my God, bro, really? He's like, leave it on my porch. I'm like, oh my God.
Special
You
delivery.
know,
Yeah.
yes. Whatever my brother ever needed, I had his back. I never once turned myself back behind him. He would call me, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? You know, and I'm like, I got you, bro. Um, during the pandemic, when all the when DJs couldn't DJs at clubs and all that, he was doing a lot of his mixes on Twitch, um, Facebook, or Instagram. He would be like, can you help me pay for this? I'm like, sure, I got you, bro. One thing about me as a sister is I would never, ever, ever had turned my back on my brother. My brother was everything to me. And, he reached out to a lot of people. Um, One thing about it is a lot of these DJs, I want to give a message out, let them know that when people are reaching out to you, try to accept that phone call or text. You don't know when your day is going to be up. You don't know when your number is going to be called. LP didn't know that he was going to pass that day. We don't know. You know, Try to keep in touch with each other. Reach out. Make sure everybody's good. You know, it's hard, and if I can turn back the hands of time, I would love to have my brother back, and I can't. You know, it's not easy. You know, Tomorrow we're going to be planning his. Do you want me to go ahead and
Sure. Yeah, sure.
So tomorrow I'm planning his. We're doing his 1 year anniversary at the Pittsburg City Park from 12 to 5 p.m. My brother did pass on September 5th, which is Labor Day weekend. So if anybody wants to come out and join us, you're more than welcome. We got a taco truck. We have a DJ. We're going to do a balloon toss. We're going to have some lowriders out there. A lot of the Twitch DJs and a lot of other DJs are coming in. Just come out and show him some love and spend some time out there with everybody.
Can you tell us the time and I think you mentioned the location, but the time also. What time
So the
roughly?
time is going to be from 12 p.m. up until 5 p.m.
Okay,
I
perfect.
did it early because I know a lot of these DJs got a DJ that like on Saturday night.
Yeah,
So they got to get back and they're all coming from San Francisco or San Jose or from LA.
right. Is there a place they could reach out as far as to see the info or the flyer or anything or
Well,
pretty much?
it's on his fan page or on my Instagram. Um, you can just, pull it up on there and it'll be on there.
What is it? Can you give the socials so people if in case they're watching and they want?
So on I created a fan page for my brother, which is under Leslie Perez. And then on my Facebook, I'm under Monica Perez as well. If you want to request me, it's fine. I will go ahead and accept, or I can send it to you. Then you can just post it and post it on your page.
Sure. Okay. Awesome. Monica, it's been a pleasure, an honor, and I'm very thankful to you for kind of bringing to light what a dope DJ he was, what a consummate professional. The guy was relentless about DJing, anything to do with DJing, and always getting better, always striving to get better every single day. I miss him a lot. I'm sure a lot of us do, and I just, you know, want to put this out there to, like I said, to kind of immortalize and pay tribute and honor in his honor uh, for being my friend and also being a dope ass DJ. Much props to you for being such a good sister also, because it's very seldom that we see people with that big of a heart. I'll be honest with you. I truly feel that. And thank you for keeping his memory alive. You know, I totally appreciate it. And I like seeing the stuff that you post. So thank you. Thank you for your time. I feel blessed that we got to talk. And I really, really appreciate it.
No, thank you. I appreciate that you showing love to my brother. I know that he's with us right now, and I know he's probably saying, "Bro, you don't have to do that." But one thing about him is his smile brings out who he is.
He was
Very
always
lovable
definitely,
person.
he was such a happy person also.
He was. He was a very lovable person, where a loving father, a loving uncle, a loving brother, and a loving son, especially a good friend to everybody. And I'm so proud to hear all the good things about my brother. You know, he was loved by so many that people reached out to me, fans that even said, "We called the radio station and we heard who your brother was." And, you know, we just love talking to him.
Yeah, no, totally miss him. And Leslie, man, if you're watching, salute. Here's look at my nice shirt. Salute, brother. And thank you for everything you've done. Really appreciate it. Monica, thanks again. And this has been a special Tacos and Turntables podcast with LP's sister, Monica. And she was nice enough to give us some of her time and tell us about her brother, Leslie, one of the dopest in the Bay, and very sad about his passing. Thank you, Monica. Have a good rest of
Thank you.
your night. Really appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
Have a
welcome.
good night.
You too. You're welcome.